Hello, and we'd like to welcome you to the Young People's Panel for the Education Conference for the Alexander Technique. And we're very grateful to these four young people for agreeing to take part in this discussion to sort of make clear how the Alexander Technique can be relevant to their lives and to having the work right there at the heart of education. So I'd like to go over to Polly to ask her how the inspiration came for this discussion.
Hello, I'm Polly Waterfield. I'm an Alexander teacher. It's great to be here with you all today. So the inspiration for this event goes back to last summer when I was on my way to a planning meeting for this conference. And I'd been involved with Extinction Rebellion for the previous 6 months, and hugely inspired by Greta Thunberg on the way that young people were making their voices heard around the world in such a fresh way. And I suddenly thought, we're running this conference about teaching young people, and why are we not inviting young people to come and tell us what you might need? So here you are with your different backgrounds and interests, and you've all had Alexander lessons, either short-term or long-term. We're really looking forward to talking to you.
So shall we start off by introducing ourselves? I'm Judith, and I think we'd all like to hear from you, your name, your age, where you're at school, and where you're learning the Alexander Technique. So let's start with Josh, and we'll just...
Hi there. So I'm Josh. I'm 18 years old. I study at Uppingham School, where I also have Alexander Technique lessons, and I have done for the last 5 years. I play the viola, and I'm hopefully continuing Alexander Technique at Guildhall next year.
Thank you very much, Josh. That's lovely. And we'll go over to Jocelyn now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn. I'm 13, and I'm having Alexander lessons privately with Catherine. And I go to school in Stoke Newington. It's called Stoke Newington School in Hackney. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you, Jocelyn. That was really nice. And now let's hear from Daisy.
Yeah, hi, I'm Daisy. I'm 17. I have Alexander lessons at Junior Royal Academy of Music with Judith, and I play the flute. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you, Daisy. And now let's hear from Winston.
Hi, I'm Winston. I'm 13 years old. I go to Cheston Community College in Cambridge, and I've been having private Alexander lessons with Polly.
Lovely, thank you very much. So we're going to start off now with questions that we've prepared a little bit. And we'll start with Polly talking to Josh.
So Josh, as you said, you've had lessons at Uppingham for your whole school time there.
That's right, yes.
That is one of the enlightened schools that does offer Alexander lessons to music scholars. So here you are leaving school under these very strange circumstances, not exactly the way you imagined. And looking to the future, you must be feeling that's quite challenging.
Yes, yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about how you're looking at that challenge, and how Alexander work might help you with facing what you see coming?
Well, unfortunately, I'm in the position where my Alexander Technique teacher, Andy Smith, has been furloughed. So over this period of time, I haven't been able to have any lessons myself, though I still feel that Alexander Technique is so important, such a vital part of my life, that I'm always trying to find, whether I'm in here practicing my viola or the other side, outside in the real world, trying to bring Alex Tech into as much of my day-to-day life as I can. It'll be interesting to see how the wider community adopts Alexander Technique into their day-to-day life. I certainly try and lie down and reset my body, so to say, every day. I'm often thinking when I'm playing my instrument, okay, how can I, if a passage isn't working properly, what is it that I can do to maybe adjust that? And rather than necessarily getting my head caught up in the entanglement of all the little details, so sometimes taking a step back and being able to assess it from an Alex Tech point of view. Of course, I don't feel that Alexander Technique will be able to continue on a one-to-one basis, unfortunately, for a while until this whole virus situation has passed. However, I really do hope to keep it going as much as I can.
That's great, Josh. Really nice to hear. Particularly like the bit about taking the step back. We all need to do that sometimes, particularly in these rather overwhelming circumstances.
Lovely, thank you so much. So, going back to the group, and now I'm going to ask Jocelyn. That really, we're very interested in what you see the challenges that you see ahead coming towards you, and whether Alexander Technique has something to offer you in terms of facing those challenges going forwards.
Yeah, so I'm in XR Youth, Extinction Rebellion Youth, and I'm quite active in that. And I think it's quite an overloaded job to be an activist. And I think the stress and strain of it is really kind of hard to manage with your well-being. And I think Alexander lessons have really helped me kind of relax and at times of stress and just lie down and kind of get my headspace. And I think linking to that, Extinction Rebellion has a kind of section of it called regenerative culture, which is kind of about well-being and stuff like that. And I think Alexander Technique is a big part of that for me. So yeah, I think it's really helped me think about the nature side of life, I guess. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's really very interesting to hear how you're connecting it to all sorts of things in your life. Thank you, Jocelyn. Okay, going over to Daisy, and Daisy sort of was so wondering what the challenges are now as you're in the sixth form and you're, I know, in the National Youth Orchestra and all sorts of things that are very challenging and lots of pressure, and wondering what Alexander offers you in terms of coping with things in this time now.
Well, as Jocelyn said, I relate Alexander to kind of nature and being outside as well, like the idea of being connected to yourself and also your surroundings, because at the moment with the current situation, I've had to have a lot of screen time, whether it's for school or academy or National Youth Orchestra. So whenever I'm not on screens, I try and just be outside as much as possible. And I think this kind of connecting from Alexander Technique has helped me kind of just kind of take a breather in between. Like all the breathing exercise we do also really helps when you get frustrated with technology as well. Just kind of all the breathing exercises really help calm me down. And in terms of like music at the moment, I suppose one of the upsides of this situation is having lots of time to practice or find a new hobby, but it also means that can struggle to focus and can get like distracted easily. But my Alexander technique lessons have really helped me with this, and just being the idea of being present in Alexander, I think has really helped me with this.
Thank you, Daisy. That's really lovely to hear. So moving on to Polly for the last question to Winston.
So Winston, last but very much not least, hi. Obviously, there are big challenges for you at the moment with doing all your schoolwork at home. And we've worked on that, haven't we, sitting at a computer and so forth. But I know that even before the current situation, you were concerned about the future, because we bumped into each other again, didn't we, on a school strike. So I'm wondering how you're thinking about the future and how your life may unfold, and how you see your Alexander lessons maybe supporting you with that.
Yeah, well, yeah, like you said, I go on school strikes for the climate, and I think in the future, me personally and everyone in our generation will feel and like encounter a lot of worries and anxiety, because obviously, you know, with climate change, it's such a big issue that we simply cannot ignore, and there's lots of worrying aspects about it, like about, you know, what kind of world would we inherit in the future. But I think with all that worry, you know, Alexander technique is a very good way to kind of counter that. And I think Alexander technique is a good way to kind of relieve that tension and to just kind of break through all the kind of panicky feelings and to kind of have a clear mind. Yeah. And now, you know, with coronavirus, I think I haven't really experienced it a lot so far in my life, but I think everyone will in their life, you know, at some point in the future experience some kind of loss or separation. So I think how to cope with that, I think Alexander technique in the future would help me a lot with coping with those kinds of issues, because it's, you know, stuff like that is quite upsetting, I guess. For example, like a couple of nights ago, I was watching this BBC report about the ICU section in NHS, and it was really, really heartbreaking and upsetting. Yeah, and at the time, it felt kind of really tense, I guess. So I guess I worked through some Alexander techniques principles, like how Polly and I were talking about a wave going through the body and feeling that, and also how you could kind of visualize the body very clearly. So I was able to kind of use Alexander technique principles to kind of, I guess, kind of calm down and kind of relax and see not everything in the world, even though there's a lot of worries. I think Alexander technique is a good way to kind of see that's not the only part of life. You know, there's lots of other things, see the bigger picture and see that not everything was going to be that bad.
It's really wonderful to hear. Thank you so much, Winston. Such broad thinking. And yeah, there are all the upsetting things out there. And there's also the present moment, isn't there? And Alexander work can help us come back home to ourselves in the present moment. And then we do whatever we do.
So that's leads me into asking you sort of a bit more broadly about the work in your life. It's been great hearing about how Semisupine, I love the way some of you have said it resets you. And that Josh even says that he does it every day. That's remarkable. I wonder if anybody would like to say any more about the practices that, you know, whether it's helped you with the lying down or sitting at your desk or any of the sort of everyday benefits of that, if anyone would like to say anything there.
I was just going to say that, for example, I was kind of feeling kind of under the weather and a bit kind of annoyed. And I really was not in the mood for like Alexander lessons or meeting anyone. But I went to my Alexander lesson, and afterwards I felt really much kind of happier and not angry anymore. And I think that's quite a good example that it really kind of helps with mood as well as physical kind of being. Yeah.
That's so good to hear, because sometimes people who don't know about Alexander think it's just about posture or standing up straight. And actually Alexander himself called it psychophysical, his work, that it's both sides, the emotional and the mental and the physical. And that's, you've given such a good example of that, Joss. Do you,
Yeah,
the rest of you find that too?
Sorry, I just want to say that I totally agree with you. I've been doing a lot of recording and multi-tracking during this lockdown period, also with NYO as well, with Daisy. And it's so easy to fall into the trap of becoming obsessive about a small little passage that it's not quite right. And so you go back, but it's still not quite right. So you go back and you fall into this trap of repeating the same small segment for forever and ever. And Alexander technique has been so useful in helping me just to take that step back, separate myself from this obsession I mentioned, and just allow you to come at it with a fresh mind, and so that next time that you play it, it's suddenly it's the right take.
Yeah, I relate to that so much, Josh, about recordings and everything. Yeah, with when I get really like obsessive about one bit, I try and just breathe, which I think is something Judith's been talking to me about, just like, yeah, stepping back, as you said, and because obsessing over it isn't going to help it at all. So yeah, and with the semisupine, yeah, as Jocelyn said, when I do, I kind of feel like a release, not just like physical, but emotional as well, just kind of letting go in a way. I find that really useful.
I think similar to what everyone else has said, I think when I'm doing my schoolwork, I kind of find it really hard to, without the physical teacher and like classmates to help me, I find it really hard to kind of motivate myself to, crack on. So I think Alexander technique's kind of helpful for you to just kind of get a clear head and realize, you just gotta do it, I guess.
You often talk about taking a step back, don't you, Winston?
Yeah.
So several of you have said that.
That's so great. So you can sort of notice how you're being, not just being it. I think that's really important. I wonder, just because I heard a little bit, Jocelyn, that you've done some ballet. I wonder if Alexander's sort of been helpful in your ballet situation, classes, or thoughts about ballet.
Yeah, I think it's been, because ballet is all about kind of posture and like being upright and being kind of, I don't really know how to explain it, but kind of have depth, I guess. And I think even me, I wouldn't have done Alexander lessons because I wouldn't have thought I had anything wrong with me. But I think it's even helped someone who doesn't have any kind of problems. And yeah, I think it's really helped the posture in ballet and to kind of flow into it instead of being just stiff. So yeah, I think it's really helped. And also I heard they taught it at ballet schools, which is kind of cool that I got to got to have lessons without even going to a normal ballet school.
One of the most surprising things that I've found about Alexander technique is the way that physically, the way that one thing which you think would be totally unrelated to another part of your body can have the biggest impact on the outcome. Even yesterday, I was helping my sister. We were doing a bit of recording as part of a certain media campaign that we're part of. And she's a trumpeter, and she struggled a little bit with a couple of moments of music, and during those moments her shoulders would come up and she'd go into almost a startle position. And so just reminding her of the very basics of Alexander technique, finding your feet again, stood up, and allowing that contact to spread through your body. Immediately her shoulders would come down and she'd play that bit the best that she'd played it so far.
Wow, that's really inspiring. I think that's marvelous. And Winston, I heard that you do a little bit of martial arts. Perhaps would you tell us a little bit about that, and whether Alexander has a sort of connection there for you?
Yeah, I do Taekwondo, which is Korean martial arts. So yeah, in martial arts, you kind of have to be tense a lot of the time. But I guess with the Alexander technique, it's quite helpful because when you're tense all the time, it kind of, after a while, you just cannot maintain it. So I guess with the Alexander technique, it kind of provides a nice contrast to kind of contrast that martial arts kind of principle. But also, when it's quite a specific example, but when in certain moves in Taekwondo, you kind of have to get the best kind of impact, you have to have that kind of relaxation before you do the move. So it's like you have a kind of relaxed acceleration to a sudden impactful tenseness, so then you get the best, most powerful move. So I guess before Alexander technique, I guess it was kind of hard to have the two kind of polar opposites done in one move. But with Alexander technique now, it's become a lot easier, and so it's definitely helped.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Thank you. And Daisy, I was just wondering if there's anything you'd like to add there about maybe the impact on you. It was lovely what you said about thinking and bringing your attention and awareness to things.
Yeah, I thought maybe I'd talk about how it kind of relates. I do a lot of yoga and like meditation, and I think yoga and Alexander techniques are quite like linked in a way. So like, for example, at the end of the yoga class when we do Shavasana, and it's all about kind of doing the body scan and being aware of all the sensations in your body. And I think this is quite similar to the semisupine position, when you're kind of trying to be aware of all the sensations in your body and trying to just sensing them, which I think is kind of similar to yoga in a way. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to make that connection.
That's lovely, because I think what we've covered here today is that it connects to ancient wisdom, but modern neuroscience and technology even, and politics, and just what it is to be human, really. So thank you so much. We are so grateful to have heard from you. Lovely lot. Thank you very much. And just huge gratitude. And we just hear lastly from Polly.
Yes, just to say also thank you. It's been really wonderful to talk to you and to hear what you've all had to say. And yeah, meeting young people like you makes me feel hopeful about the world, really. So keep doing what you're doing and be well. Okay, bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.